I just made something delicious. Cześć, it's Michalina from Coffee That Gives It Back. Although this channel resonates around coffee, specialty coffee to be precise, and its goal is to convince more and more people that choosing specialty coffee over commodity coffee has many benefits, this episode is dedicated to actually non-coffee drinkers. Of course, everyone is very welcome to watch this episode. This or other episodes that I did before, subscribe to my channel and go through the videos to find out what kind of coffee I'm talking about and how you might benefit from it. But I know that there are some people who don't drink coffee, but they watch my videos. So as a gesture of appreciation and something that I want to say thank you with, I made an episode especially for them. Love! Also, what I've just prepared here can be made in very Christmassy way, very Christmassy version. And with the Christmas time approaching, when, if not now, is the best time to prepare something like this. Perhaps you've already come across something like this before, or maybe not. Ladies and gentlemen, Cascara. Let's go! So that was a little piece of Cascara. Technically, it is coffee, but it's also a tea. However, it's actually not a coffee, and it's also not a tea. Do you even know what we're talking about, Michalina? Translating from Spanish, Cascara means skin or peel. And in terms of coffee, it refers to coffee cherries' skin. Once the coffee cherries are taken from the trees, in order to taking the beans from the inside of the fruit, farmers quite often are left with enormous amount of cherry skins as a byproduct of so-called washed processing method. Video about what processing is and what kind of processing there are here. On many plantations, Cascara, later in the process, is used back on the plantation in form of a compost. But in many countries, Cascara is considered as a waste product in the coffee production. Although there are countries, like Yemen, where they've been preparing a drink out of cascaras for years, for centuries really, and this is what we're gonna do today as well. Only reasonably not long ago, Cascara brought specialty coffee industry's attention as an opportunity for farmers to have extra income by selling Cascara on the market. Why throw it out if you can actually sell it and make something delicious out of it? That way, not only farmers benefit, as they have an extra money, but also this procedure is very environmentally friendly, so planet is also happier. Coffee producers, in the spirit of last way, started to get new range of clients. Those ones that for their good reasons couldn't or didn't want to drink coffee, but were very happy to try something new, something made out of coffee cherries' skins. Before we move on to the taste of Cascara, I'll take a sip now. Let's discuss Cascara's caffeine content. Since it is part of the coffee, does it have any caffeine in it? Yes. Not as much as coffee beans have though. Taking that Cascara is a relatively new product on the market, researchers measuring the caffeine content in it are still taking place. Most likely, it really depends on the coffee cherry variety, how much caffeine is in there. But so far, researchers show that generally speaking, caffeine content of Cascara sits at around 100 milligrams per liter. Is that a lot or is that not a lot? Well, I think that if you are a person who shouldn't be consuming any caffeine at all, it might be a lot. This amount of caffeine is similar to caffeine content of espresso shot, give or take. Although if you want to compare Cascaras to any filter coffee, it's not that much anymore. Filter coffees are characteristics for having much more caffeine than espresso shots due to longer time of extraction. Depending on the brewing method, the caffeine content sits at around 200, even up to 800 milligrams per liter of coffee. So compared to this, Cascara's caffeine content is relatively low. By the way, watch this space for a totally separate episode about caffeine content in coffee. It's coming your way soon. For someone who doesn't drink coffee at all, but focuses more on the tea, to make it clearer for you to understand how much caffeine it might be in this comparing to tea, tea still has less, whether that is black or green tea. Researchers show that the caffeine content in Cascara is still a little bit higher than in teas. And this is something I'm saying for you to remember. And it will be up to you whether you want to stay over-caffeinated or not. This is delicious, so it's worth drinking, but maybe not after you've already had 5 coffees or more. By the way, fun fact, Cascara was actually banned in the European Union market for quite a few years. I assume, partially because of that, Cascara is not widely known on the market yet. For a few years, it was not this easily available on the market. As any other new product on the market intended for human consumption, it needed to have certificates that it's safe to consume. I assure you it's safe. If you are curious about the whole story of why it got banned and what was the procedure, I'm gonna leave the link in the description of the videos to the article on Barista Hustle when they cover that subject very well. Today it is possible to buy it with no problems whatsoever, and many roasteries offer. Maybe not so many in New Zealand. I've known of maybe 4 roasteries that sell it. Now let's move on to the most exciting part of the video, preparing the Cascara. The one that I had available in my cupboard was made in New Zealand. Wait, does that mean that there is a coffee plantation in New Zealand? Oh yeah, sure there is. I don't know why I'm so happy. That's not my plantation. But I do have something special coming about this plantation, and I hope you're gonna stick around because it will be very, very, very exciting. At least I'm excited. Wait for it. Anyway, Cascara, once the bean is taken from the inside of the fruit, is left outside to dry under the sun. Here's a little before and after for you. If you have a chance to try it, and I encourage you to do so because it's definitely something very interesting, you will very quickly recognize flavors of dry plum, notes of hibiscus. At least that was something very easy for me to pick up when I tasted really any kind of Cascara. What is also very interesting about this drink is the little smokiness that you can taste, but in a very good meaning. It very much reminds me of a compote made of dried fruits that is traditionally drunk during the Christmas time as an addition to Christmas Eve dinner that is probably the most celebrated part of Christmas time in Poland. I haven't been in Poland for Christmas for so long. Cascara can be brewed both as a hot drink, but also iced drink. It is recommended to use around 10 grams of Cascara over 200 grams of water. And you can make it in French press, teapot, or just any mug that you can later sieve the little pieces of Cascara after you reach the desired time of brewing, which might be something between 5 up to 10 minutes. It's really up to you how strong you want to make it, and you can adjust the amount of Cascara and water, just like coffee, to your own preferences. If you feel more like an iced drink, then you can repeat the same procedure as you did with the hot Cascara, and then once it's brewed, you can just pour it over ice and it's good to go. Another way of making cold Cascara is to brew it overnight. Prepare your desired amount of Cascara. I'd say maybe a little bit more, maybe around 12 grams of Cascara over 200 grams of water, and you can brew it with cold water. Pour it into the jar or any other container that you can lock and keep it in the fridge for 20 up to 24 hours. Then whenever you're ready and whenever the Cascara is ready, sieve it and drink it over ice. To make it a little bit fancier, there's so many ways of how you can experiment and add some additional ingredients to the drink, and that's what I did. As I mentioned, I wanted to create something more Christmassy, and the anise stars Cloves, raisins, and cinnamon have never let me down. It always works perfectly. The preparation of that drink couldn't be easier. I added 1 anise star with 3 cloves, 1 cinnamon stick, and 5 grams of raisin with 15 grams of cascara into this glass. I poured around 250 grams of water over it and waited until it's gonna be brewed. Because I'm not a fan of overly cinnamony flavors in the drinks, I've taken the cinnamon stick after roughly 3 minutes and put it aside, but I continued to brew anything that was left. After exactly 5 minutes and 35 seconds, I've sieved the ingredients and that's it. Ready to go, ready to drink. I added 1 more anise star because it gives you this perception of drinking a licorice that I'm surprised I like because I always hated it. But here, amazing. This is fantastic. Great way to stay energized but not over caffeinated. Tastes very interesting. It's very easy to prepare. Brings some benefits to environment and farmers. It's also cheap. You gotta try it. Peace, cascara, and coffee.